My mother-in-law handed Christmas gifts to every grandchild except my 7-year-old son, Noah. When I asked why, she said, "He's not blood," and my husband sided with her. I want you to picture this exactly how it happened. Christmas morning at my mother-in-law's house was always loud, crowded, and over-decorated in a way only Evelyn could pull off. The fireplace crackled under a massive garland. The tree was wrapped in gold ribbon, and every flat surface was covered with porcelain angels. Kids ran from room to room, screaming about gifts, sugar cookies, and who got the bigger box. It was the kind of chaotic holiday scene you'd expect from a typical American family. But that year, the chaos felt different. Tense. Off. Like the house itself was holding its breath. My name is Lauren Miller, and no matter how hard I tried over the years, I never belonged in that house. Not to Evelyn, not to the Miller family mold. I was too independent, too emotional, too not like the women they were used to. But none of that ever bothered me as much as the way she treated my 7-year-old son, Noah. Noah is soft-spoken, gentle, and thoughtful. One of those kids who holds the door open for strangers and whispers, "Thank you" to waitresses. He had spent the entire morning helping me choose gifts for everyone. He even tied his own little red bow onto the gift we brought for his grandmother. He was so excited. And I was excited for him, too. I kept telling myself, maybe this year will be different. It wasn't. We all gathered in the living room. The cousins sat cross-legged on the carpet, bouncing in anticipation. My sister-in-law, Heather, shouted, "Okay, kids, Grandma's ready!" Evelyn walked in holding a huge red gift bag full of brightly wrapped presents. The kids screamed again. She handed out each gift personally, calling each child's name with a smile that looked almost theatrical. "Emily, sweetheart, this one's for you. Lucas, come give Grandma a hug first. Oh, Lily, you're going to love this." Gift after gift after gift. The room filled with ripping paper and squeals of excitement. But as the pile shrank, I noticed she hadn't called Noah's name. He noticed, too. He wasn't loud like the others. He just sat on the edge of the couch, hands folded, waiting. A quiet kind of waiting. A hopeful kind. My chest tightened. The bag was nearly empty. Then she handed out the last present. To Lucas. And that was it. Noah's eyes flicked toward the empty bag, then toward me. He didn't cry. He didn't say anything. He just looked confused. I swallowed hard and approached Evelyn, trying to keep my voice steady. "Evelyn, did you forget Noah's gift?" She didn't even bother lowering her voice. "I didn't forget, Lauren." I blinked. "What do you mean?" She shrugged with a tight smile. "He's not blood. I decided this year we'd stick to tradition." The room fell so quiet I could hear the ticking of her enormous wall clock. My husband, Eric, looked up from his phone but didn't say a word. I whispered, "You can't be serious." She replied flatly, "Tradition matters. You should understand that by now." I felt heat creeping up my neck. "He's 7 years old. You couldn't give him anything. Not even something small?" She crossed her arms. "I'm not responsible for other people's children." The words hit me like a slap. I looked at Eric, waiting, hoping for him to defend his son. But he only sighed and muttered, "Lauren, Mom's rules. You know how she is. Let's not cause a scene." "Cause a scene?" My child had just been humiliated in front of his entire family. I heard a soft sniffle behind me, the kind a child makes when they're trying not to cry. I turned and saw Noah quickly wiping his face with the sleeve of his Christmas sweater. That did it. I stood up straight and said, "We're leaving." My voice didn't shake this time. It was solid, unmoving. Eric stared at me, stunned. "What, now?" "Yes, right now." I took Noah's small hand into mine. It was cold and trembling. He whispered, "Mom, it's okay. I don't need a gift." But he did need something, respect, love, inclusion, and he hadn't gotten any of that in that house. As I walked out into the freezing December air, snow swirling around us, I didn't realize that the worst part of the day hadn't even happened yet. The biggest shock, the truth that would change everything, was waiting at home, and it was tucked inside a sealed envelope my father-in-law gave Noah before he died. When we pulled into our driveway after the disastrous Christmas gathering, the house looked unusually quiet. The soft white lights we'd put up earlier in the month were still glowing along the gutters, and the inflatable snowman on the lawn swayed slightly in the winter wind. Everything looked peaceful, but inside, all I felt was heaviness. I helped Noah out of the car, brushing snow off his shoulders. He held my hand tighter than usual, as if he wasn't sure what part of the world still belonged to him. That angered me more than anything. No 7-year-old should ever have to wonder where they fit. Inside, the house smelled faintly of cinnamon from the candles we'd lit that morning. Normally, that smell made the place feel warm and safe. But today, it felt like a reminder of how different things should have been, how Christmas was supposed to feel. I took off my coat and hung it by the door. Noah stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the twinkling lights on our smaller, humble Christmas tree. He didn't move. He didn't ask about cookies or hot chocolate. He didn't talk about his cousin's gifts. He just looked deflated. "Noah," I said softly, crouching down to his level. "Are you okay, honey?" He hesitated before answering. "Mom, did Grandma forget me?" My heart twisted. "No, sweetheart. She didn't forget." He frowned. "Then why didn't she get me anything?" I swallowed hard. Because she was wrong. And sometimes grown-ups make awful choices. He nodded slowly, but I could see he didn't fully understand. How could he? How does a child process being singled out? How does a little boy understand cruelty disguised as tradition? To shift the moment, I said, "How about we change into comfy clothes? It's been a long day." He nodded again and headed to his room. While he was gone, I paced the living room, trying to calm myself. I replayed every moment from the day, the kids shouting with excitement, Evelyn's cold tone, Eric's silence. My anger pulsed under my skin. It wasn't just about a gift. It was about the message Evelyn had spent years trying to send. She never accepted me. And she never accepted Noah. Not truly. But the one person who had loved Noah without question had been Henry, my father-in-law. His warmth had been the only reason I ever tolerated family gatherings. Unlike Evelyn, he didn't care about rules or appearances. He didn't care about bloodline or tradition. He cared about kindness, honesty, and the quiet moments that made life meaningful. I still remember the day Noah was born. Evelyn had walked into my hospital room, looked at him for 2 seconds, and said, "Well, he's definitely different." Henry, on the other hand, had tears in his eyes when he held Noah for the first time. "He's perfect," he whispered to me. He had been Noah's safe place. Their bond was immediate and strong. Noah adored him. They'd spent weekends fishing together, building little birdhouses in the garage, and watching football in the recliner Henry refused to replace, even after the springs gave out. To Noah, Grandpa Henry wasn't just a grandparent, he was a hero. When Henry got sick the year before, the entire dynamic of the Miller family shifted. Evelyn became harsher, more controlling, almost territorial. She started correcting everyone. She criticized the nurses. She insisted only family should visit him in the hospital, her definition of family, but Henry still asked to see Noah. "He brightens the room," he'd say. During one of my last visits to him, he'd called me to his bedside with a seriousness I'd never seen in him before. His voice had been weak, but his eyes sharp. "Lauren," he said, "I need you to take something for Noah." He pulled a sealed envelope from his bedside drawer. His hand shook slightly as he placed it in mine. "Don't open it yet," I asked. "When should he see it?" "With Noah, feelings run deep," he said. "He's like me, sensitive. He'll know when it's time. But if you need a rule, give it to him when she hurts him. You'll know who I mean." He didn't say Evelyn's name. He didn't have to. I kept that envelope hidden for months. I never touched it, never held it, asked. I unfolded the small piece of paper. Henry's handwriting was shaky, but strong enough to carry emotion. I took a breath and read, "Noah, my boy, if you're reading this, it means the truth matters now. I did something last year because I needed answers. Not for me, but for you. You deserve to know who you are and where you belong. Inside the second envelope is something important. Don't be afraid. You are part of this family in ways others refuse to see. Be brave. You are my heart. Grandpa Henry." Noah stared at the second envelope. "Mom, what answers?" Before I could respond, the front door opened. Eric walked in, his face flushed from the cold but expression dark and annoyed. "Lauren, seriously?" he said as he kicked off his boots. "You stormed out like that? Mom's already upset. Heather keeps texting me saying you embarrassed everyone." I stood up, shielding Noah slightly with my body. "Eric, tonight was unacceptable. Your mother humiliated our son." He rolled his eyes. "It's Christmas. She didn't mean anything by it. She said he's not blood." He shrugged helplessly. "That's just how she talks sometimes." "No, Eric, that's how she thinks." He sighed sharply. "You always overreact to everything my mom says." I felt Noah flinch beside me. I held up the envelope. "Eric, this isn't about me. This is about something Henry left Noah." Eric paused. His face softened, but only a little. "What do you mean? Dad left him something?" "Yes," I said firmly. "And he wanted Noah to open it when your mother hurt him." Eric's jaw tightened. "Lauren, come on, don't drag Dad into your issues with my mom." I shook my head. "I'm not dragging anyone into anything. Henry made this decision on his own." Eric sat down next to Noah. "Buddy, what is this envelope?" Noah looked between us nervously. "Dad, Grandpa said I should open it when Grandma was mean to me." Eric rubbed the back of his neck, confused. "Mean how? She wasn't that bad today." I almost snapped, but restrained myself. "Eric, she singled him out in front of everyone. She refused to give him a gift because she decided he isn't blood." Eric looked at Noah, then at the envelope in his hands. "What's in it?" I sat back down. "We don't know yet, but it's important, and Noah wanted you here before he opened it." Eric's expression shifted. The annoyance didn't disappear completely, but something else crept in. Concern, maybe even fear. He reached out and gently touched the sealed envelope. "Noah," he said quietly, "do you want to open it now?" Noah nodded. Eric took a breath and looked at me. I nodded back. This was the moment everything started to unravel, the moment that would expose secrets no one expected, challenge loyalties, and rewrite the entire Miller family story, and none of us were ready for what was inside. Noah sat between us at the kitchen table, clutching the sealed envelope like it was something sacred. The only light in the room came from the Christmas tree behind us, its soft glow flickering against the walls. It felt nothing like Christmas. It felt like a moment we weren't prepared for, a moment that would change the shape of everything we thought we knew. Eric drummed his fingers on the table, trying to mask how uneasy he was becoming. His earlier annoyance had faded, replaced by something quieter and more uncertain. He kept staring at the envelope like it might jump open on its own. "Okay," he said finally, his voice softer than before. "Let's see what your grandpa wanted you to have." Noah looked at me first, like he needed permission. I nodded gently. "Whenever you're ready, sweetheart." His little hands worked carefully at the seal. He didn't tear it aggressively or rip it open the way kids usually open mail. Instead, he slid his fingers under the flap and peeled it back slowly, almost reverently. Inside was a folded document and a second letter, typed this time, not handwritten. He pulled out the document and set it on the table, but his fingers hovered over the typed letter instead. He slid it toward me. "Mom, can you read it?" "Grandpa said it was important." Eric shifted in his seat. "Typed?" he murmured, confused. "Dad never typed anything." I opened the letter and began reading quietly to myself before reading it aloud. Halfway through, my breath caught in my throat. Eric noticed immediately. "Lauren, what is it?" I looked at him, trying to keep my voice steady. He explains why he took a DNA test." Eric's eyebrows pulled together. "What DNA test?" Noah watched us with wide, anxious eyes, trying to understand the severity in our expressions. I cleared my throat and began reading aloud. "To my grandson Noah, and to Lauren and Eric, if you are reading this together, it means I am no longer here to explain this myself. I needed to know the truth before I left this world. I wanted peace, and I wanted answers for Noah. What I discovered changed everything I believed about family, loyalty, and what it means to be a parent. The document attached is the test that proves what I suspected." Eric leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. What he suspected? About what? I stayed focused on the next lines. "Eric, if you are reading this, please understand I did not do this to hurt anyone. I did it because I loved your son, and I loved him enough to make sure he never doubted who he was." Eric swallowed hard. His jaw tightened. Loved him enough? What is this supposed to mean? I carefully folded the letter and placed it on the table. "It means he took a DNA test," I said quietly, "and he attached the results." Eric stared at the sealed document as if it were something dangerous. His breathing changed, shallow, uneven. He reached for it, then pulled his hand back. No, this is ridiculous," he said. "Dad he would never do something like this behind my mom's back, behind me." "He did," I whispered, "and he did it for Noah." Eric stood abruptly, pushing back his chair. "This is insane. My dad always supported my mom. He always believed in her. He wouldn't go behind her like that." I looked at him, meeting his panic head on. "Eric, he did this because he didn't believe her anymore. She poisoned the family with this obsession about blood, and he wanted to give Noah proof." Eric shook his head hard. "Proof of what? Proof of what?" Noah flinched at his father's raised voice, and I immediately touched his back to reassure him. "Eric," I said, keeping my tone low, "sit down, please." He hesitated. Then slowly he lowered himself back into the chair, but he wouldn't look at the envelope. Moments passed in heavy silence. Finally, Noah whispered, "Dad, do you want me to open it?" Eric closed his eyes for a long, grounded breath. When he opened them again, they looked different, conflicted, scared, but more willing to face whatever was coming. "Yes," he said quietly. "Let's open it together." Noah slid the document toward him. Eric's hands trembled as he broke the seal. He opened it slowly, eyes scanning the top of the page. His face drained of color instantly. "No," he whispered. "No, this can't, this..." He pressed a hand to his forehead. "Dad, why would you?" I leaned forward. "What does it say?" He didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the results, frozen. So I reached across the table and turned the page so I could see it. And there it was. Clear, plain, scientific. The turning point we had unknowingly been walking toward for years. And it was only the beginning of what would unravel next. Eric stared at the DNA results for a long, agonizing moment before he finally spoke. His voice cracked in a way I had never heard before. This says, Dad and Noah were a match," he whispered, barely breathing the words. "A 99.9% biological match. Grandpa and grandson." Noah leaned forward, eyes wide. "Dad, does that mean Grandpa really was my real grandpa?" Eric swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. He nodded slowly, still stunned. "Yes, buddy, he was. He really was." Noah let out a soft, shaky breath. Not joy, not surprise. Something deeper. Relief. A release of the fear he had quietly carried for years. But Eric wasn't relieved. He was unraveling. He ran both hands through his hair and pushed away from the table, pacing, muttering to himself. "Mom said, she always said, she insisted he wasn't. She said there was no way. She said..." I watched the pieces fall apart behind his eyes. Years of manipulation, control, blind loyalty. All the times Evelyn declared her version of the truth as if it were absolute. Eric finally saw it. "It wasn't you she didn't believe," I said softly. "It was her own husband." Eric stopped pacing. He turned toward me, but his face wasn't angry. It was devastated. "She lied to me, Lauren, for years. She accused you. She accused Noah. She told me I was naive, that Dad was confused. She made me think..." His voice cracked. "She made me think my own father was losing his mind." I walked toward him slowly. "She made you think whatever she needed you to think." He sank into a chair, elbows on his knees, fingers laced together tightly. Noah slid off his chair and quietly sat beside him. Eric looked down, eyes filling with tears. "I'm so sorry," he whispered to him. "I should have protected you. I should have stood up for you. Grandpa tried to tell me. He tried to show me. And I didn't listen." Noah leaned his head against Eric's arm. "It's okay, Dad. You didn't know." It took everything in me not to cry at the softness in his voice. It was always Noah teaching us grace. After a few minutes, Eric straightened up. His expression changed, still broken, but something new forming underneath. something like resolve. "I need to talk to her," he said. My stomach dropped. "Eric." "No," he said firmly, standing. "I need to hear her say it. I need her to tell me the truth." A part of me wanted to stop him. A bigger part of me knew this moment had been coming for years. He grabbed the DNA test folder, the typed letter, and Henry's handwritten note. Then he turned to Noah. "Do you want to come? You don't have to." Noah shook his head. "She scares me." Eric kneeled in front of him and placed his hands on his small shoulders. "You never have to see her unless you want to, okay?" Noah nodded, and then Eric left the house. The next hour was painfully silent. Noah and I sat on the couch together, watching the Christmas tree lights blink on and off. He leaned against me the whole time, asking every few minutes, "Do you think Dad is okay? And do you think Grandma is mad?" I answered as honestly as I could. When Eric finally walked through the door, the look on his face told me everything. "What happened?" I asked gently. He set the folder on the entryway table and exhaled deeply. "She knew." The words hit like a punch. "She knew," I repeated. He nodded, eyes glassy. "Dad told her before he died. He begged her to accept Noah. He told her the truth. And she—" His voice shook. "She said it didn't matter. She said he wasn't the kind of grandson she wanted." Noah's face fell. Eric continued. "She said Dad was being emotional because he was sick. She said it would ruin the family image if anyone found out." I felt heat rising in my chest. So she buried it? All of it? "She didn't want him to be right," Eric whispered. "She didn't want Noah to have any part of the Miller legacy." Noah curled into me, clutching his stuffed elephant. Eric wiped his eyes with the back of the door, waiting for Eric to come home. I would have given anything to take away that anxiety from him. Eric returned 3 hours later. His face was pale, jaw clenched, and eyes red. Not from anger, but from something deeper. Something like grief. I met him at the door. "How did it go?" He exhaled shakily. "She denied everything at first, said the test must be fake, said Dad was confused, said I didn't understand family." "And then?" Eric swallowed hard. "I told her she doesn't get to define family anymore. I told her she lost the right the moment she singled Noah out." I felt something inside me loosen, some tension I'd carried for years. He continued, voice trembling slightly. "She finally admitted Dad told her. She admitted she didn't want it to be true because she wanted her bloodline to go through Lily's kids, not ours." That sentence sat between us like a cold weight. "Eric, I'm so sorry." He shook his head. "No, I'm sorry. I let her shape the way I saw things. I let her silence me. I let you deal with everything alone, and the entire time, Dad was trying to do the right thing." We stood there for a moment, the weight of years hanging in the air. Then Noah walked into the hallway. "Dad?" Eric snapped out of his thoughts. "Hey, buddy," Noah asked. "Are we going back to Grandma's house?" Eric kneeled in front of him. "Not until she apologizes to you, and even then, only if you want to." Noah thought about it for a moment. "If she didn't want me before, I don't want her now." It wasn't bitterness. It wasn't revenge. It was a simple truth from a child who had learned his worth. Over the next few weeks, everything felt different. Eric made a routine of spending evenings with Noah, helping him with homework, reading him stories, taking him outside to play basketball even in the cold weather. He started showing up in ways he hadn't before, not because he felt obligated, but because he finally understood how much he'd missed. We also created a small corner in the house dedicated to Henry. Pictures of him and Noah fishing, laughing, building birdhouses. Noah placed the DNA test results beneath one photo, saying, "I want Grandpa to hold it." One night, Noah whispered, "Mom, Grandpa didn't leave me. Grandma just didn't want him to be right." I hugged him close, tears in my eyes. "He was right, sweetheart. He always was." And in that moment, I realized the truth that would stay with us forever. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by the people who choose you, protect you, and stand up for you, even after they're gone. Henry did that. Noah learned it. And Eric was finally becoming the man his father believed he could be. As I look back on everything that happened, one thing stays with me more than anything else. Sometimes the truth shows up in the smallest hands, at the quietest moments, in the form of a child who simply wants to